Hello. A change of government does not always entail a wholesale change in foreign policy, but it can, at the very least, lead to a discernible alteration of course. After the recent parliamentary elections in Hungary, the TISA party, led by Peter Magyar, brought to an end the 16-year era of Viktor Orban, one of the most charismatic and profoundly consequential prime ministers in Hungary's modern political history. Prime Minister Magyar was sworn into the office on the 9th of May, having pledged to restore closer relations with the European Union and to place greater distance between Budapest and Russia. Yet Hungary's foreign policy does not begin and end with the EU and Russia. Over the past 16 years, Hungary has developed particularly strong relations with Azerbaijan, Turkey and the organization of the Turkish states at large, promoting what was often described as an Eastern opening and presenting itself as a bridge between Europe and the Turkic world. The question now is whether this orientation will endure under the new government. You're watching Context. I'm Orkhan Amashov, and joining me now in the studio is Ambassador Dr. Farid Shafiev, Chairman of the Board of the Center for Analysis of International Relations. Dr. Shafiev, welcome to Context.
Thank you for the invitation.
Although my introduction was primarily about Hungary and the new parliament and the result of the parliamentary elections, let's begin our conversation with Azerbaijan-Europe relations. Over the past few months or so, we have discerned a particular pattern. Azerbaijan has cultivated a very good relation with the European Commission. There's a strategic partnership with a number of countries. But the relations with the European Parliament leave a lot to be desired. And we have seen that public confrontation between President Aliyev and European Parliament President Metsola during the 8th summit of EPC. What do you make of this dichotomy, this moment?
Indeed, we enjoy a good relationship with the European Union. The European Union is the largest trading partner, and we have vital interest in energy, and it's mutual interest in energy and connectivity and in some other areas. But as you mentioned, we have also some foreign issues which from time to time emerge, and we disagree on that. Especially you mentioned the European Parliament. Yes, the European Parliament, not only now in its recent anti-Azerbaijan decision. Actually, it is not related to Azerbaijan. It is a decision about Armenia, to support Armenian development, democracy, etc. But it has clauses which basically brings the issues from conflict, from past conflict, and it's very one-sided, very biased, and it's not first time. So which forces behind that, and why now? Definitely the resolution is about Armenia to support elections and Pashinyan government before quite complex elections. And actually on that issue, we're on the same page. You know, Azerbaijan also supports peace agenda and believe that with this government we can move forward. But unfortunately, not all countries, not all forces, even inside Europe, they support Pashinyan and we support peace process. So why? We can understand, we see rhetoric from Russia against Pashinyan, but why in Europe? So we can kind of make analysis and dissect the different forces. First of all, it's Armenian diaspora, radical elements of Armenian diaspora, which against peace, against normalization with Turkey and Azerbaijan. That's one force. Related to that, there are so-called right Christian forces, which support, by definition, whatever happens, they support Armenia, and not what's today's Armenia. They support Armenians, radical Armenians in diaspora. So they just sometimes vote automatically. You know, someone from diaspora hand them, you know, the paper memos that you have to support that. And there are also some so-called useful idiots. Sorry for this kind of term, but yeah, they don't realize that we are supporting agenda of third countries, agenda which is against current government in Armenia, the agenda which is against peace and normalization. And quite paradoxically, there is fourth force, which is, I mentioned the Armenian diaspora, I mentioned extreme right, you know, with Christian right groups, but also extreme left. So usually Azerbaijan has normal good relationship with center-right, center-left governments, but these two extreme forces for different purposes, because for Christian right groups, this conflict all about religion, but for the extreme left, it's the conflict is portrayed as a sort of civilizational, sort of between two different systems, which is quite wrong. But sometimes we have to give credit to some Armenian diaspora radicals. I mean, what credit? I mean, they can unite them against Turkey, against Azerbaijan.
Dr. Shafiev, you mentioned those components, elements, which are currently fighting against both peace process and Prime Minister Pashinyan's election chances. It's very interesting that the European Union has recently launched the mission known as EU Partnership Mission, which has got an explicit mandate to deal with Russian hybrid threat. Yeah. Would it be possible for some elements which are normally understood as part of Russian hybrid threat actually being outside Russia, inside European Parliament? Because you mentioned useful idiots.
Yeah.
Do we have useful idiots of European extraction based in European Parliament as part of Russian hybrid threat?
Well, absolutely. That's the part of the forces which are against Pashinyan, and not only in Europe, just in the heart of United States, in Washington, D.C., Armenian National Committee of America. In the last election, 2021, they were in favor of pro-Russian candidate, Robert Kocharyan, and today they also advocating against Pashinyan for another pro-Russian candidate, Samvel Karapetyan. So the same we can see in France, Netherlands, Belgium, and some other countries. So it's sort of the mixture of people who work for Russia, but sometimes people just, they just buy this agenda by negligence. I wouldn't say by negligence, but at least by ignorance of the geography, of history, and even current development in the region.
It's widely acknowledged the latest EPC on the 4th of May was a massive support for Prime Minister Pashinyan. Yeah. And then also, same applies to the bilateral EU-Armenia summit. President Aliyev's remarks made in Zangilan that those forces in the Armenian landscape who want to damage Azerbaijan's country will pay the highest price if they come to power, has also been perceived as an indirect support for Prime Minister Pashinyan by many analysts. And in the same way, Turkish-Armenian normalization is believed to be supporting Prime Minister Pashinyan. What else do you think should happen within those domains to support Pashinyan?
Before coming to that point, you mentioned the President's Aliyev remark in Zangilan. He made a very important point. For these 3-4 years, let's start from 21, 22, even when we formulated officially 5 principles of our peace treaty. It was Azerbaijan who moved peace agenda in the region, and so everything depends on Azerbaijan. Now I understand, and we all understand, that those European leaders who came to Yerevan to support Armenia, to support Pashinyan particularly, again in the context of the upcoming elections on 7 June, but they just decided to use these platforms, like French foreign minister and some others, to make attack on Azerbaijan. I don't know whether they realize that by doing this, they undermines the peace process, because without Azerbaijan, peace process is not possible. But sometimes I would say there are 2 elements of these attacks. Some of the European policymakers, officials, especially when we speak about parliamentary democracy, from parliamentary systems, they depend on the vote of the constituencies. And in their constituencies, they have Armenians, and which says, okay, I made this statement, you voted for me, so I'm following Armenian agenda, so I went to Yerevan and said something bad about Azerbaijan, which is good for those Armenian radicals in diaspora. That's the one reason. And the second reason, unfortunately, we see that some members of current Armenian government, they're trying to negotiate with those politicians to to raise this issue.
Are we talking about high-ranking cabinet members?
Yes, like we have some information about the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia, Ararat Mirzayan, who were in touch with some of those advocates. You know, for them it's like when come to us, Armenians come to Azerbaijan to the meeting saying, you know, Karabakh issue is closed for us. We are not responsible for what Armenian diaspora doing or what European politicians doing. But in the meantime, for the local audience in Armenia, saying, you know, we didn't forget this issue. You see, the French foreign minister came and spoke against Azerbaijan, spoke about Karabakh. So this is kind of the double game, and it's very, I would say, dangerous game because after 7 June elections, things should be settled. If Armenian government is sincere about peace process, it should really stop doing this kind of the double-edged game.
Very briefly, Dr. Shafir, before I move into the subject of Hungary, which is our main principal subject in many ways, what do you make of the current role played by France? We know that Emmanuel Macron, at the very end of his state visit to Armenia, tried to cross the Turkish-Armenian border. Mm-hmm. We know that two processes are interconnected. What do you make of that?
Yeah, well, for some reason, you know, again, if we look at history, and it's well-known fact that President Heydar Aliyev, President Ilham Aliyev made first official visit to France. Yes, we had some substantial conceptual differences with this country, and we know that, for example, in 1993, France did some, I mean, its role was quite detrimental to Azerbaijani position in this UN Security Council. But anyway, we worked with France. We have some trade, we have some economic relationship, we have some humanitarian cultural links. Unfortunately, under Macron, it has deteriorated. Then, after 2023, President Macron said, you know, we support peace process, but this is sort of say escapades. I don't know. It's sometimes personal, but sometimes again it's coming from this French vision that it has special role. In 19th century, it was the mission civilisatrice, and now we have kind of idea that we have special role in the South Caucasus, in Eastern Mediterranean. So I don't want to go further into details of this conversation, but anyway, I don't think it is constructive. Though I have to also note that we had some recently in February, in January, some government meetings between French and Azerbaijani officials. You know, at least we had some reason to believe that the French officials thinking about some constructive relationship, some positive development.
And also we discussed France, we discussed Azerbaijan's relations with major European institutions, including European Parliament, European Commission, and Hungary. They got a new government. It's quite often said that there are certain strategic institutional matters which are not contingent upon government change. What do you make of the current government and its rhetoric when it comes to our part of the world?
Yeah, you know, let's look what the Hungary's foreign policy was for the last 20 years. I'm leaving aside the Budapest and Brussels relationship, which was very problematic. But Hungary, and not only Hungary, but some other European countries, you know, we decided to diversify their foreign policy portfolio. So that means not only, it's not all about European Union, but also Mediterranean, North Africa, Turkey, Middle East, and here Eastern Europe, South Caucasus. So why I'm saying that it's not something unique, and Hungary has some advantages, you know, with heritage, you know, related to Altaic languages, to Turkic family. So, and they decided to use that for their own benefit. So, new government, we understand it's their sovereign rights. They would like to change something. You mentioned relationship with Russia, relationship with EU to improve. And to have more, you know, revision of relations with Russia. But with Organization of Turkic States, if they're doing that regarding Azerbaijan, which was quite a reliable partner in energy and in some other areas, I don't think I can, and I cannot speak, of course, for the interest of Hungarian state or people, but just would like to move to some neighboring countries briefly. I have some personal experience with Czech. I was ambassador there. When I was there, it was the center-left government. Now it's center-right government. But we enjoy the same relationship because it's built upon certain political interests and certain economic interests. The Prime Minister Babiš was recently in Azerbaijan. So we have change of governments since I was there 2014, 19. It was different governments, but this line remained. Take Italy. Also, we have we enjoyed for these 30 years steady growth of relationship, though the different governments was in Italy. Berlusconi in between, and now Meloni. And we have also our relationship growing. I hope that the current new Hungarian government understand that it's in mutual benefit, and it does not sometimes relationship with country A, it's not zero-sum game. If they would like to improve relations with Brussels, does not mean that they should worsen relationship with Organization of Turkic States. But of course, decision is theirs. Just would like to, again, to underline that what we have built for these 20, 25 years with Hungary, it brought benefits to both countries.
And quite frankly, should we take it for granted that distancing away from Russia should also mean distancing away from organized Turkish state? Because quite often what happens in terms of energy supplies, the countries which do not want it to be dependent on Russia, improve their relations with Azerbaijan, and simultaneously become more valuable in the eyes of the European Union. What do you expect in the context of real practical actions from the present administration when it comes to organization of Turkish states?
You say you made very good point. Russia, it's one direction, Brussels another, and Turkic states, or let's say Ankara or Baku, it's completely different direction. And we are not in union. Azerbaijan is not in union with Russia. Yes, we all have relationship. Turkey has a relationship. So some European countries still maintain and still buy energy from Russia. The things that what we develop right now, energy and connectivity, has nothing to do with other geopolitical actors. It's our own projects in the making, and for the last 20, 30 years, I'm speaking about oil and gas, Southern Gas Corridor, I'm speaking about Middle Corridor. These mega projects, they are significant in terms of now geopolitical turmoils around Iran, around Russia. It's actually alternative route, and if again Hungarian government decides to, for some reason, to make revision of this relationship and to limit this relationship, it's I would say it's a bit myopic. I mean, it is maybe ideologically driven from some Western countries, because we've seen that some Western countries. I remember during the conflict with Armenia, they said that you should not develop, for example, military relationship with Azerbaijan, but they were ready to sell weapons to Azerbaijan in the meantime. So this is sort of, we've seen the policy, which is, I don't want to use strong words like hypocritical, but at least it was not sincere.
Dr. Shafir, my last question to you is about upcoming informal summit of Organization of Turkish States. That summit is upon us. What is your major expectation from that?
It's once again, I think, will reaffirm the significance of Organization of Turkic State, its growing potential, its growing unity, because what is under discussion, many political, economic, and cultural projects. I know there is certain limitation, geopolitical limitation, especially in Central Asia, but that does not prevent us from greater cooperation. And the fact that, by the way, this is not before the summit now, today, President of Turkey, Erdogan, in Astana, having a bilateral summit, that also means something, in terms of what it means for Central Asia relationship with Turkey, with Azerbaijan. Last year, Azerbaijan became member of C6
Yeah.
So I think the significance for countries themselves, which is member of Organization to Turkic States, especially in the time of crisis, which we see in the south and in the north.
Dr. Shafir, I'm very grateful to you for your time and for your enlightening answers.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. Well, it may be somewhat early to discern with any degree of confidence whether Hungary's foreign policy towards Azerbaijan and other Turkic countries will undergo any substantial alteration under the present leadership, but it's by no means too early to contemplate this possibility and to reflect upon the implications that may flow from it. You've been watching Context. I'm Orkhan Amashov, and see you very soon indeed.